Hello and welcome to Gamers Table, a discussion of tabletop role-playing games, war games, movies, books, and other related topics. Be warned, this show may contain some explicit material that may not be suitable for all audiences.
Hello, welcome to Gamers Table. My name is Eric.
This is Mike.
This is Dan.
This is Mark.
And I'm Sean.
This episode, we're going to talk about Confined Campaigns.
Yes.
What the hell does that mean?
It's good. I think all of us asked you that whenever you sent out the text message.
Right.
So re-enlighten us.
What that means is there are some campaigns that the setting themselves becomes part of the cast. It becomes an actual character in the game.
The best example I can think of would be a Star Trek game.
Very much so.
The ship that you're on, be it the Enterprise, the Defiant, whatever that it would be, is pretty much your setting.
Or even better, Deep Space Nine.
Deep Space Nine, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, the space station.
When you're not going anywhere.
I mean, yeah, you're going to have things where you're going outside of the thing, but for the most part, it's a contained campaign. Another example would be a prison.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. A prison setting.
Which we've done before.
We're currently doing a high seas D&D that's based on a ship. That's the same thing. And
the Hero High that we did for Mutants and Masterminds
centered around the school, right?
Yes.
Exactly, exactly. So the Confined Campaign. What's good about it? What's not so good about it? You know, what do you think about that kind of a campaign?
Anything that's not a dungeon crawl is great by me.
But what if the dungeon was like I'm trying to think of, the first thing that came to mind would be more of a movie reference, but Event Horizon is a dungeon crawl.
Yeah.
The dungeon is a character.
Or Alien.
Or
Alien. For sure, Alien.
Again, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a ship, but Alien is a dungeon crawl if you think about it.
If you're being hunted by one monster.
Right. Aliens, they're all on that one colony.
That's a dungeon crawl too, because they're essentially going through the different complexes.
So this episode's really going to be all about turning Mark around in a dungeon crawl.
The
cool thing about Alien and Aliens, I don't have to play them.
Oh,
Sure. If I'm watching a dungeon crawl that only takes about 2 hours, I'm fine with that.
Challenge accepted.
A slight difference to that, though, is a dungeon crawl, you are exploring it, and you don't really know how big it is. Now, more confined, let's say, like you're on a spaceship or something, you know your boundaries.
Right.
And you're stuck in there, and the smaller the boundary, the more claustrophobic and tense
Trapped.
the situation is.
Right. When I brought this up to Mark, the first thing you said to me was Das Boot.
Yes, Das Boot. Yes.
Yeah. You're a submarine
Hunt
campaign.
for Red October.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a very good confined campaign.
They really played up the claustrophobia in that movie because, they're basically just sitting on the bottom getting screwed up the whole time.
Depth charges and things like that. Yeah, but, like my point of all of that was that a confined campaign...
Red Tide, another submarine movie.
It allows you to...
Character development.
Yeah, do your own character development and the relationships with the other characters, not only at the table, but the other characters in the setting.
On the ship.
Because you get to really know these characters. Because you're interacting with the same characters over and over. If you're playing in, let's say, Greyhawk, and you're in the Duchy of Ernst, and you really can go anywhere you want to, you're not stuck in one spot.
Yeah, you meet a peasant, you may never meet him again.
Right, and the game master's really not obligated to come up with like a great personality for Peasant Fred.
Right.
Because really there's no need to.
These games are a lot more character-driven than action-driven.
Right. And I think that it also fosters a greater appreciation for the NPCs. Anytime a PC or a player interacts with the same NPC over and over again, they develop an emotional attachment or revulsion or whatever. An emotional response. And I think in a confined campaign, that gets fostered. It's almost like a pressure cooker.
I have a natural aversion to NPCs that goes away when we play a game like this. I don't mind the NPCs on the ship of our Sea Princess campaign.
Yeah, our Sea Princess is definitely...
That's because we rely on them.
Right.
We need them.
Actually, the reason why I don't like NPCs on any other kind of campaign is I think people use them as a crutch to fill in a hole of the group.
Right.
When you have the traveling the traveling healer or mage that just so happens to conveniently be with you,
hanging out with you, right?
Who really never ever gets paid,
Right. Never gets a full cut.
Exactly.
Just gets his tithe. That's about it.
Okay, this could have the potential to be these kind of campaigns are great love fests. So I'm going to start out with a negative.
Okay.
Say with our Sea Princess campaign, we're confined to playing a sailor type character.
Right.
You don't have as many options to play with on a game like this. If you play a Star Trek game, you kind of have to, you got to play within the confines.
Well, yeah.
of
If you're playing a Star Trek game, even if you're playing a Deep Space Nine space station game, you're pretty confined. You're not going to play a Romulan, unless you're playing like a Romulan, spy or something like that,
or a Romulan expatriate who decides
there's got to be
Bajoran or something.
There's got to be an exception or an explanation why
Can
those
I
characters
say
are
something?
there.
I didn't understand any of that. But that's okay. That's okay.
Garrick.
No, don't explain.
Garrick on Deep Space Nine is technically an enemy race. He's a Cardassian who's living on the station. He's a Cardassian expatriate.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a tailor.
But
he's a tailor.
So, but anyway, yes, you are dictated as to what is acceptable.
Pigeonholed, I think.
Yes.
Which then I'll curb that with saying I don't think that's a bad thing. I like playing within parameters.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Babylon 5.
It's a challenge.
It would be a challenge for me to watch that show.
I challenge you to watch that show.
I've still got all the books,
Challenge
Dan.
not
We
accepted.
could totally play Babylon
Books.
5.
Oh God, that's even worse than watching the show.
Wow, they put that in writing.
Oh my God. No, there's an RPG for it, and Mark owns it.
Yeah, I couldn't watch that one.
Just about the complete
No
set.
way.
Some books I don't have.
So, but yeah, what spurred all of this was I was having a conversation with Mike, and we were talking about the Sea Princess campaign and just how attached we've become to some of these NPCs, to the point where we've actually played some of the NPCs for a night.
Bill Palsy.
Bill Palsy. McGarnagle.
Right.
Everyone's favorite.
It's one of those things where in a confined campaign that worked, because in a regular dungeon crawl campaign or something like that, you don't bring in other characters just for a night. It's like, what's this guy doing down here?
Well, that's exactly what happened when we had our dungeon crawl night in the Sea Princes. The two tag-along NPCs got sacrificed effectively.
Mostly because your character knocked one out and let
Hey
the
man,
let the
I
Beatles eat
wanted
him.
out, and he was in my way, so I decked him. It's not my fault he had a glass jaw.
Pirate's Code. He fell behind. He was left behind.
He was left
To
behind.
the bugs. Yes,
Right.
the giant bugs ate him.
Not my problem. Sorry.
So yeah, it's very unique, I think, to this situation where you have a set number of NPCs, and I think what Mike did was rather ingenious, because it was
He doesn't even know what
Yes.
he's thinking, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
How do you foster an attachment to an NPC? You let the player play him for a minute. You know,
And familiarity.
Once.
you know how much does Sean love Bill Palsy?
I think he may love Bill Palsy more than he loves his
How
own character.
much does Jason love
Blonde
Blonde
Berry?
Berry?
Yes,
Yeah.
and he only played him once.
He played him once, and now he still talks about him. You know,
Little man crush.
On a side note, Mike, when you created the Sea Princess campaign, did you intend for it to be a George Martin style, separate people all over the place? Or did that just kind of happen?
Yeah, it kind of happened.
Because I was thinking that's kind of what happens when you do this kind of a campaign. You're creating these relationships, and sometimes these people don't always stick together. They go over here, and you still want to be with them.
Well, that's weird because I'm playing 3 characters right. I mean,
3 different ships.
That's crazy. I've never done that before. I got 3 guys I'm juggling here.
Yeah, I've got 2.
yeah, but that's very much a George Martin feel, where you're seeing different perspectives and what's going on the boat and what's going on the guys who got marooned, and what's going on the opposing ship and things like that. But still, every one of those examples is still a confined campaign, marooned on an island.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're stuck there. Where are you going to go?
We had a prison side tangent.
Yeah.
With that crew.
Yeah, we've played prison. I don't prefer prison campaigns.
Well, we can't play prison campaigns anymore because Sean ixnayed that. He said, no.
Too much like work.
Too much like work. Yeah. So, but there was we've had fun with them before, and it's always ends up being like the escape. There's always the escape. Whereas in other confined campaigns, you don't want to escape. Another example that I had come up with, kind of in the same vein as the Hero High, is the All Wizard School.
I can't wait.
That is
Can't
gonna
wait.
be-
Which
That's
was
gonna be
really
neat.
bizarre for me that Dan can't wait for that.
That's great. I love that theme.
Yeah, I've never played a
love it.
wizard, so I got to do it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I think it's going to be interesting to see how 5 wizards all interact.
That's why we got to do it with the Mutants
So
Mastermind.
Sean's
Yeah.
literally going to go to school on this one.
That's right.
Yes, I'm doing it.
But yeah, that in if you're doing it like that, think of Harry Potter. Hogwarts was a character in those stories.
Yeah, that school was a living. Well, it is a living thing.
They rarely got out of that school, did they?
Yeah, I mean, they
There was
went
the
on-
town next door.
Yeah, the
but
town
that
next
was about
door.
it.
And eventually, yes, they did move on and
Yeah,
do
when they
things
got
outside
older.
when they got older. But for the most part, it was centered around that school. And we did that with Mutants and Masterminds Hero High. We did go out and do things, but everything went back to
Right.
the confined.
No
campaign.
teleporting.
No tell.
Yeah, right. Jason always came back, though. So yeah, I think there is merit to that kind of a campaign. You can easily run a sandbox style confined game. Let the players do what they want within the confines of where they are. Let them make their own drama, things like that.
Well, I guess that would go back to that. What was that indie game that we talked about episode or so ago? Chaos or
Oh, Fiasco.
Fiasco.
Yes.
Yes.
See? That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
On a ship.
Fiasco on a ship. Yes.
Fiasco on a submarine.
Fiasco on a sinking ship. See, that's how Fiasco works,
Wow. We got to do it as an actual play.
Fiasco zombie apocalypse. Just it could go all over
A
the place.
poltergeist style skyscraper.
Towering Inferno.
Yes. I like where this is going.
See that so you make the setting. The setting it becomes like the characters fit within the setting. The setting
Well, yeah.
becomes bigger than the character.
I think it's a lot easier to come up with a character idea if the setting is established.
Right, sure.
Rather than just trying to come up with a new generic fighter.
Right.
Who
Yeah.
just so happens to use a crossbow this time.
Right.
Right.
Which I'm going to do.
In that vein, I was like, I'm working on a Dresden Files game, and I'm not doing it this time because I want the first time through at least the first adventure to be a getting to know the system type of game.
Right.
So I'm pre-making all the characters. But when we sit down to play without having pre-made all the characters, before you ever create your character, you're supposed to sit down as a group and create the city that you're going to be playing in. Right down to, location, some NPCs. You sit down and you say, well, we're going to be playing in Anaheim, Los Angeles, right? So what's in Anaheim that we come up with as a group?
Other than the ducks, I have no idea, actually.
And Disney.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, you sit down with the laptop and you break out Google Maps. I've spent more time on Google Maps the last 3 weeks than I've ever have in my life. Right. And I'm a realtor. I use Google Maps a lot.
That's funny that you say that because really, honestly, it's weird that that game is considered pretty innovative. And it's funny because I think that all games should start like that.
Oh, yeah.
They just kind of put it in.
And instead of saying, yes, the game master could have a story in mind, but I think for the players to become more invested, you give them that opportunity to help build the world around them. Where are you from? Okay, well, who do you know? Things like that.
I am leaving a few of those spots on the sheets blank when we do start playing, so you could fill those in with other people, other PCs at the table, or if you want to just add something to the city, fine.
Dark City.
Dark City.
An underground city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually.
Or
what it
Amber.
is-
Oh yeah, Amber.
Oh, Ember.
Ember. No,
yeah.
that's right. Ember. I'm sorry.
Paranoid all takes place.
Oh, Paranoia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paranoia. Yeah, not Paranoid.
Yeah. So like a domed city. Very Total Recall.
There's an old game called
Oh,
Meta.
the new Total Recall.
Total Recall.
Does look kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's Colin Farrell.
There's an old game called Metamorphosis Alpha, which is the precursor to Gamma World.
Okay.
And it's you wake up from stasis or whatever, and you are essentially on a spaceship, a colony ship that's like going off into it's off course or something like that. But it's such a big place, you don't actually know you're on a ship.
That's interesting.
I just saw, like, a year ago, I rented a movie out of Redbox that I didn't think was going to be any good, called Pandora.
I've seen that too.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that.
You have
I've
no
seen
idea what's happened until you get to the end of the movie.
That's
Yeah.
awesome
Yeah.
movie. Yeah.
It's like if a baby was born on the Death Star, they wouldn't know it's not a planet.
Yeah,
You know,
it's all about your perception.
It's right.
Yeah, it adds more to Luke Skywalker being a sociopath.
It's true.
Wait. Too much Star Wars. That's right.
Mass murdering sociopath.
One of the examples I was using when we first were talking about this was Doctor Who.
Yes.
How every other episode of that is him appearing on some space station, and it's one of those deals like Last Man Standing.